In 1975, a young Kodak engineer built the first working digital camera inside Kodak, a camera that didn't need film at all. This is the true story of how his future was quietly parked in a drawer to protect the past. For almost a century, Kodak wasn't just a company. It was the word for photography. Kodak moments. Yellow film boxes, family albums. They owned the way the world remembered itself. Their business model was simple and evil genius. Sell cameras cheap, make a fortune on film, paper, and processing. Razor and blades, but with birthdays and weddings. At its peak, Kodak controlled around 80% of the US film market and was the dominant player worldwide. Over 145,000 employees, billions in revenue, chemical plants, labs, kiosks. An empire built on tiny rectangles of plastic coated with light-sensitive magic. And then, in a lab in Rochester, a young engineer pointed a clunky box at a colleague, pressed a button, waited 23 seconds, and showed her face on a TV screen. No film, no darkroom, no come back in an hour, just electricity and pixels. The future had walked straight into the film factory. Meet Stephen Sasson, early 20s, electrical engineer, tinkering with weird chips nobody else cares about. In 1974, he gets handed a CCD sensor and told, basically, see if this does anything interesting. Challenge accepted. By late 1975, he's cobbled together a monster, about 8 pounds, roughly the size of a toaster, powered by a bunch of nickel-cadmium batteries. Resolution, 100 by 100 pixels, 0.01 megapixels. Instagram would arrest him. You press the button, it takes about 23 seconds to record a single black room's-wide image onto a digital cassette. Then you carry the cassette to a custom playback box and show the picture on a TV. Slow, grainy, completely ridiculous, and also the first real digital camera in history. Sasson hauls this contraption upstairs to show the executives. He explains filmless photography. He demos the shot onto TV workflow. He shows the potential curve. Sensors get better, storage gets cheaper. This thing shrinks and gets faster. The room sees it work. Then someone, according to Sasson, basically says, that's cute, but don't tell anyone about it.
For goodness sake, cute! They just saw the goddamn future on a TV screen and their only thought was, that's an admirable little threat to our entire existence.
To be fair, Kodak wasn't clueless. They did the homework. In the early 1980s, they commissioned internal studies led by Vincent Baraba, their head of research. The conclusion, digital would almost certainly replace film, but it would take about 10 years. 10 years is an eternity in corporate PowerPoint. So what do you do if you're making a fortune on film and you've just proven the thing that will eventually kill film, but not yet? At Kodak, the answer was stretch the old world as far as it will go, improve film quality, launch fancy formats like Advantix that mix magnetic strips and better processing, build mini-labs, kiosks, home printers.
So their master plan was what, exactly? To put a digital engine inside a horse-drawn carriage? That's insane! They spent a decade polishing the Titanic's silverware while the iceberg was waving hello.
They did work on digital cameras, especially for professionals. Big, expensive Franken rigs bolted onto Nikon and Canon bodies. They filed piles of digital patents. But the heart of the strategy was always the same. Keep the user coming back to paper and chemicals. Digital, yes, but only if it still led back to the cash register in the photo lab. Then the 1990s hit, and the cracks turn into craters. Digital cameras get cheaper. Resolution climbs. Storage explodes. Suddenly, normal people can take a photo, see it instantly, delete it, take 10 more, and never once touch a roll of film. The Kodak moment becomes, let me check if I blinked. Kodak does enter the consumer digital market, but late and awkward. Their cameras exist, sometimes even sell well, but margins are thin in the competition. Sony, Canon, Nikon isn't dragging around a giant film empire behind it. And then the real killer shows up, the smartphone. The camera you already had in your pocket. The camera that was good enough. That's the kicker, isn't it? It wasn't a better camera that killed them. It was a camera that was just there. Like air or taxes. Film sales fall off a cliff. Paper and processing follow. The beautiful razor and blades machine seizes up because the new razor doesn't need blades. In 2012, after years depleting cash, selling assets, and licensing patents, Kodak files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the US. The company that taught the world to press the shutter now has to auction off parts of its own past. So, what's the actual lesson here, besides don't ignore the guy with the toaster camera? Kodak didn't fail because it lacked smart people or good ideas. It failed because its success came with handcuffs. Every digital photo that never got printed was a line of lost revenue. Every step into the future stepped on the throat of the present. Innovation isn't just about building the new thing. It's about having the guts to burn your own house down before someone else does it for you. And Kodak, it's as if they were meticulously repainting the facade while the termites were already signing the demolition papers. They had the data saying digital would win. They built the prototypes, they even sold digital products. But they treated digital like a side hustle, a way to support the film machine, instead of admitting the film machine had an expiration date. In the end, Kodak's biggest problem wasn't technology, it was psychology. They literally helped invent the future of photography, and then behaved like it was a rumor that might go away if they ignored it politely enough. Disclaimer. This story is based on public records, business case studies, and interviews about Kodak's past decisions. The people and companies mentioned are portrayed with a healthy dose of sarcasm, but nothing here is an accusation of fraud or crime. This is commentary and storytelling, not investment advice. And if you make stock decisions based on a stick man holding a camera the size of a toaster, that part is entirely on you. Kodak once promised to help you preserve your memories. The real memory they left us is this: even if you invent the future, you can still lose it by clinging too hard to the past. So when someone in your team shows up with a ridiculous, ugly prototype that makes your cash cow nervous, maybe don't just smile and put it back in the drawer.